This is BBC Newsline. I'm Tara Mills. Tonight's headlines. 2 men have been jailed for the murder of this man, Malcolm McKeown, back in August 2019. They'll serve a minimum of 24 years before they're released.
Mr. McKeown was shot at least 6 times in a calculated and cold-blooded execution.
With the Fianna Fáil candidate in the Irish presidential election having dropped out yesterday, the race for the presidency now only has 2 contenders. The First Minister has described the discovery of a viable explosive device outside a Sinn Féin constituency office as an attack on democracy. A shake-up of AS, A-levels and GCSEs could be on the way, but what do students think?
If they were all at the end of the 2 years, it would be quite hard, especially for the content that we learnt in year 13.
I do history, so if they're saying do all your history exams at the end of year 14, that's a lot of content you have to know.
20,000 birds are to be culled today after a suspected outbreak of bird flu in County Tyrone, amid warnings that it could have a devastating effect on the poultry industry.
A club where a draw is a defeat and a defeat is a crisis as Rangers part company with manager Russell Martin, who can lift the Glasgow club out of its slump.
And it's been a much calmer start to the week following Storm Amy last week. But is it set to stay that way? I'll be back with your full forecast at the end of the programme.
Hello and welcome to Monday's programme. This is Malcolm McKeown. He was shot dead in broad daylight 2 weeks after being released from prison. Today, 2 men were told they'll spend at least 50 years in jail between them for his murder. Jake O'Brien and Andrew Martin carried out the killing at a filling station in Waringstown in 2019. It was described in court today as a planned assassination. The victim's family was in court for the sentencing, so was our correspondent Mark Simpson.
The 2 killers of Malcolm McKeown, 31-year-old Jake O'Brien from Rectory Road in Lurgan and 30-year-old Andrew Martin from Bridge Street in Banbridge. They were lying in wait as Mr McKeown arrived at this filling station in Waringstown and went into the shop. He wasn't inside for long. He came out and went to his car, unaware of what was about to happen. As he sat in the car, he was shot 6 times at point-blank range. He had no escape. He was hit in the head and the body. The judge, Mr Justice Fowler, described the killing as a planned assassination. He said it was reminiscent of a terrorist ambush. He then sentenced separately the 2 men responsible for the murder. O'Brien will spend a minimum of 26 years in jail before being able to apply for release on licence. Martin will spend at least 24 years in prison. As the sentences were handed down, members of Malcolm McKeown's family were at Antrim Crown Court listening to what the judge had to say. Afterwards, one of his sisters spoke briefly.
Yes, justice was done. It's a beautiful day, a very good day for us after nearly 7 long years.
The police described the murder as brutal.
Surely such acts of shocking and senseless violence have no place whatsoever in our society. Those responsible for his death had one intention, and that was to kill. They showed no thought for anyone, including children who were in the area at that time.
Malcolm McKeown was killed 12 days after being released from prison. The trial was told he'd been involved in a feud with a criminal organisation known as the Firm. The 2 men who killed him were both in their mid-20s at the time. They're now facing a long time in jail. Mark Simpson, BBC Newsline.
Now, the Irish presidential election will now be a 2-candidate race after the Fianna Fáil nominee Jim Gavin withdrew last night. There has been a controversy over a newspaper report claiming he owes a former tenant more than €3,000. The withdrawal leaves the Sinn Féin-backed independent candidate, Catherine Connolly, going head-to-head with Fine Gael's Heather Humphreys, who was in Belfast today. Kevin Sharkey reports from Dublin.
Jim Gavin entered the presidential race after a glittering career in GAA football management. leading an all-conquering Dublin team to record-breaking success. A sporting hero. But his sporting skills weren't enough in a bruising presidential campaign. During a debate yesterday, mounting pressure.
Like a lot of families only and couples, we got into financial difficulty at that time. And on that particular issue, I don't have all the information to date.
It's very simple. Most people know
I'm
if
very
they owe
sorry that it happened. I really am. And I would
euros.
With Jim Gavin now gone from the race, the fallout is moving fast. And within Fianna Fáil, disquiet and questions. And the spotlight firmly focusing on the role of the Taoiseach and Fianna Fáil leader, Micheál Martin, in the original selection of Jim Gavin.
It's a rigorous campaign. The spotlight is on an individual like it is like on no other election. And yet, just putting somebody, doing some form of due diligence on him and presenting him to the parliamentary party as a fait accompli, in my view, is not good enough for a Fianna Fáil party.
Only two candidates now remain in the presidential election. Catherine Connolly, an independent TD who is being backed by a broad swathe of left-leaning opposition parties, including Sinn Féin, and a former government minister, Heather Humphreys, from the Protestant community in County Monaghan. She was in Belfast today, visiting universities and attending a shared education project.
That was a very big decision for Jim Gavin last night, and as he said, in the interests of his family, he's decided to step down. Jim gave a huge amount of service to the public and also a huge commitment to the GAA, and I really would like to wish Jim and his family well.
Kevin Sharkey reporting there, and he joins us now from our Dublin studio. So Kevin, Micheál Martin now appears to be in the firing line over all of this.
Very much so, Tara, and some of the words being used today give you a sense of the pressure that will come upon Micheál Martin in the coming hours and indeed over the coming days. People within his own party using terms such as chaotic, embarrassing, a fiasco, a shambles, and one party member calling on Micheál Martin to apologise for selecting Jim Gavin, or helping to select Jim Gavin in the first instance. And one of the big difficulties with the issue around Jim Gavin is that any controversy surrounding housing or tenants or landlords or renting tends to provoke quite a degree of anger and rage within the Irish society at the moment because of the ongoing housing crisis. But at a political level, the pressure on Micheál Martin is coming from very many different quarters. There is support within his own party, but from within Fianna Fáil, very many people are looking to Micheál Martin to now provide answers as to why he endorsed Jim Gavin. Now, within the last few minutes, he has been on national TV saying that one of the reasons he endorsed Jim Gavin was that he wanted a candidate with a broad appeal. But for many people within his own party, Tara, that's not going to wash.
And Kevin, will Jim Gavin's name still be on the ballot paper come election day?
Very interesting question, Tara. The thought process at the moment is that it will, but to some degree this is quite unprecedented because there are only two candidates remaining. So I've been told this evening that legal and constitutional minds are now being cast towards what should happen, and future deliberations are taking place in terms of arriving at a final decision. But at the moment there's much to play for, and Micheál Martin has much to consider.
Kevin, in Dublin, thank you. Now, a Sinn Féin MP has said his party will not be intimidated after a pipe bomb was found outside his party's constituency office in Newry. The office is shared by Dara Hughes and the Sinn Féin Infrastructure Minister Liz Kimmins. The device has been taken away for further examination. Our reporter Michael Fitzpatrick has more.
The viable device was found outside this Sinn Féin office in Newry shortly before midnight last night. Monaghan Street was closed by police while ammunition technical officers examined the object before declaring it a viable explosive device.
I think it's been a very reckless act that we've seen this morning outside our office, but it won't stop me in my role as Minister to do what I have to do to deliver for people here, and it won't stop me as a very proud MLA for the people of Newry Armagh. But I think it's important to say that this does have a profound impact on our staff, on our own family, And this is a very, very personal impact right across the board.
The pipe bomb type device was taken away for examination. Monaghan Street was cordoned off overnight but reopened early this morning. The attack has been widely condemned.
The previous speaker is right, it is an attack on democracy, and there has always been an alternative. But as I've said, Speaker, there's been intimidation, there's been bomb attacks, there's been bullet attacks, there's been murder and mayhem for many years. And on every occasion, that has been wrong.
This bomb threat on one of Newry's busiest streets poses serious danger to the public. It is a total disgrace.
The First Minister, Michelle O'Neill, has also condemned the attack on her colleague's constituency office. She said Sinn Féin will not be intimidated or deterred from continuing its work. The police have appealed to anyone who may have CCTV or dashcam footage to come forward. Michael Fitzpatrick, BBC Newsline, Newry.
There are set to be big changes to A levels, AS levels and GCSEs in Northern Ireland. The Education Minister, Paul Givan, has said that pupils are being over-tested in school. His department is reviewing qualifications in a move that could see fewer exams, including the end of AS levels and a return to a 2-year A-level course. Our education correspondent Robbie Meredith has more.
These would be the biggest changes to GCSEs and A-levels here in a generation. The planned changes include removing AS levels and moving to a 2-year A-level with all exams at the end. Only 2 exams per GCSE and removing controlled assessments taken in class. The aim is more learning and less testing, according to the Education Minister.
So much time is being spent in preparation for exams, time off school when it comes to even your mocks, and being coached as to the kind of technique when it comes to how to answer questions. All of that is taking away from the ability to actually sit in the class, engage in the subject matter and to learn about it.
It won't affect current A-level students like these at Newbridge Integrated College in County Down, but they're not keen on some of the proposals, especially to remove AS exams from A-levels.
I really enjoyed AS. I think it was really handy and it took a lot of pressure off me, especially for this year.
If they were all at the end of the 2 years, it would be quite hard, especially for the content that we learnt in year 13.
I just think it's really well set out the way it is now, because then by doing it in the modular form, you're taking everything off. You don't have to worry about it for the next year, and then you can focus on your yearly study.
Myself, I'm not too good in an exam hall, and I can feel the pressure and workload. So for splitting up for me, it does help.
Many don't feel they sit too many exams at the minute.
You're always going to be a bit nervous for anything that you're going to do that's a bit serious, but it's just the same as like going in for your GCSEs.
I do history, so if they're saying do all your history exams at the end of year 14, that's a lot of content you have to know.
I think the general feeling is our students and staff want to hold on to the year 11 GCSE modules and the AS modules. Students have very strong views on that, about it helps them break up their learning. It suits their learning styles as well, and I think probably some of them are concerned about creating this big high-stake exam at the end of 2 years.
A consultation on the planned changes runs until mid-November. Robbie Meredith, BBC Newsline.
And you could read more about that exam consultation on our website or by downloading the BBC News app. Now, a culture war is being played out by some politicians over implementation of Irish language policies in Northern Ireland. That's according to the Alliance Party leader, Naomi Long. She made the remarks after the incoming Irish Language Commissioner, Paul Deeds, accused the Executive Office of failing in their duty of care to his role. Kelly Bonner has more.
The Irish language is set to become much more visible across Belfast after the City Council voted to promote the use of Irish in public life. But after last week's announcement came political disagreement. Some parties called the policy transformative, others divisive. And now the soon-to-be Irish Commissioner has spoken out. In a tweet, Paul Deeds criticised the executive, saying, by failing to come out and defend their own policy and UK law, the Executive Office are failing in their duty of care to the new Commissioner before he's even taken up his post. It follows newspaper reports of threats from the UVF and the UDA to burn Belfast City Council facilities if the policy goes ahead. The Alliance party leader described those reports as unacceptable and said politicians needed to stop bickering over language issues.
There is a culture war being played here in Stormont on a number of fronts. Every single week we see the same divisive issues being rehashed and reheated, and what people want is to create more anger and more division rather than actually bring people together around those issues where we do have common purpose, and that's what we should be focusing on.
But the Deputy First Minister, Emma Little-Pengelly, said there's no evidence that some loyalist paramilitaries have issued threats.
I took the opportunity this morning to speak to the Chief Constable about the story that was in the Sunday papers yesterday, and indeed he has confirmed to me that at this stage that they are not aware of any allegations and indeed no evidence of that, so we will have to see how that develops. It absolutely goes without saying, and I've said it in this House many, many times, that any threat, any violence, any intimidation, any breaking of the law is wrong.
Irish language groups have urged Stormont's party leaders to allow the Irish Commissioner to start his role without any further delay.
That is now an imminent litmus test for the DUP to get on with that appointment and to agree that appointment. One, they are legally bound to do so, and the clock is ticking on that.
The BBC understands Mr Deeds will take up his new role within the next few weeks. Sinn Féin are hoping he'll get off to a good start.
I regret the fact that then the policy itself gets brought into, them against them. It's about division. It's not about division. This is about inclusivity and positivity. It's about the addition of Irish. And I look forward to the incoming Irish Language Commissioner being brought into post.
But with the DUP saying they'll seek to challenge the policy in court, the Commissioner could be in for a bumpy start to the job. Kelly Bonner, BBC Newsline, Belfast.
The Royal College of Nursing in Northern Ireland is to begin the process of balloting members for strike action. The union says it's due to nursing staff continuing to be denied the pay award that's been given to colleagues in other parts of the UK. In May, the Health Minister, Mike Nesbitt, signed off £200 million to go towards this year's pay deal, but said the money would need to be found outside his department. Stormont ministers have been in discussions about agreeing a way to give nurses their pay award for this year, but it has yet to be finalised.
I am less optimistic than I was a couple of weeks ago, but I still think it's going to be resolved, because even if it does lead to strike action, and I pray to God it does not, at some point this pay issue will have to be resolved. And I think if we allow it to go to strike action, it will have an impact on service delivery, it will have an impact on waiting lists, it will have an impact on staff morale. And the bottom line is, when it is resolved, it will cost more than it would cost to sort it out today.
Now, around 20,000 chickens are being culled today following a suspected outbreak of bird flu at a farm in County Tyrone. The Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs has warned the infectious disease could have a devastating effect on the wider poultry industry and is urging farmers to take measures to curb its spread. Lindsay Telford reports.
Northern Ireland's poultry industry is worth about £500 million a year. So an outbreak of bird flu, like that detected over the weekend at a farm in Omagh, can be a cause of major concern.
It is absolutely devastating for the owner. It is also devastating for the poultry industry in Northern Ireland because of the effect it has on trade in poultry products. It also has a major effect on those people surrounding the area, which are now under restriction as well.
The cull of about 20,000 birds is expected to be complete later this evening, but disease control measures will remain in place.
As part of our control measures, there is a 10-kilometre restriction zone put into place. And again, that restricts the movement of poultry products and poultry manure from the areas.
That means farmers aren't allowed to move birds, eggs or even manure from the control zone. They're also being urged to tighten their own biosecurity.
Poultry farmers should review their biosecurity. We had a storm over the weekend, and again, they should check their premises to make sure that their premises are secure. One of the major risks of spreading avian influenza is the ingress of water caused by flooding. And again, premises should check to make sure that their houses are secure.
This is an infectious disease, and the risk of further outbreaks remains. Lindsay Telford, BBC Newsline.
Time for sport. Thomas Niblock is here, and a poor start to the season sees Rangers looking for a new manager.
Yes, Tara, if you're a Celtic fan, you're probably giggling away because of football rivalry, but if you're a Rangers supporter, it's a very different story. With just one win in 7 SPL matches, 5 straight defeats in Europe, and Russell Martin relieved of his duties as Rangers manager last night. Not a universally popular appointment among the fan base here and in Glasgow. Poor results meant he lasted just 4 months in the role. Now, that's the shortest tenure of any manager ever at the club. Rangers currently sit 8th in the Scottish table as they begin the search for a new boss. Gavin Andrews reports.
The goal that signalled the end for Russell Martin at Rangers. A draw at Falkirk, the final straw, after just one SPL win in 7 and no signs of improvement.
There is not one aspect of Rangers' team that looks like it's functioning properly here. Everybody can see it. This is a case of the emperor has no clothes on. Like, it really is quite apparent. They're in a really bad place.
While police escorted the team bus, the manager left separately, and his permanent exit was confirmed last night. The new boss will need to build momentum fast. These fans are running out of patience.
He was the wrong man for the job in the first place. Should never ever have been appointed on the basis of his previous track record.
No, before time, he should have went a long time ago. He was never ever a Rangers manager, ever.
It was so divisive with regards to the fan base. You can't have fans getting in the way of buses. You can't have somebody needing to go out the door with a police escort. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not the culture of Rangers.
So the search begins for a 7th new boss in 4 years.
I think that the challenge with Rangers is, someone like me who's turning 40 grew up on a diet of Gascoigne and Loudrop and, even further into Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. And if that expectation is dampened, if that culture is beginning to fragment away, then Rangers isn't Rangers anymore. Rangers is like any other football club. And I think that winning and being number one is just expected. In fact, it's unacceptable. And as I said before, a draw is a defeat and a defeat's a crisis. And I think really whoever comes in now needs to understand that, and I think those in charge have taken Rangers as a unique club because they understand that as a culture and expectation.
Among those in the mix to take on the challenge at Ibrox, Kevin Muscat, Sean Dyche, Stephen Gerrard, and even former Rangers captain and Northern Ireland great Stephen Davis. Gavin Andrews, BBC Newsline.
Now, Formula 4 champion Finn McLaughlin has announced he will step up to race in Formula 3 next year. The 17-year-old Red Bull junior driver from Magherafelt has dominated the F4 campaign in his first season racing with 5 victories, and he secured the title with 2 races to spare.
Yeah, obviously it's surreal. I think since I was 7 I haven't won a championship, so I think it just meant so much for me to become British F4 champion, and everyone in my family as well, sacrificing a lot in their life too. So it's just been a pleasure, and obviously, hopefully I can have a better future as well. Having to work my whole life for this, and finally having a championship under my name, and there was many other times where I should have, but I didn't get to. But that was in my head. But for now, having the first one under my belt is just amazing. So I'll be competing in FIA Formula 3 next season. There'll be 10 rounds across Europe and Asia, which I'll be excited for. And it'll be a tough one, but I'll work hard behind the scenes, and I'll be gunning for good results during the year.
Gaelic Games, and in Antrim we know it will be a St John's versus Lougheed hurling final after both teams came through their respective semis over the weekend. But for these guys, it just feels like another day at the office. Slot Neil made it a remarkable 13 Derry senior titles in a row after victory in Sunday's county final against Dungiven. A dominant display saw early goals from Shay Cassidy and this one from Brendan Rodgers. Mark McGuigan once again the captain and will lead his side into the Ulster Club Championship after an impressive 20-point win. Now, Jude McAtamney made his 3rd appearance in the NFL last night and remains perfect statistically speaking. He successfully converted 2 extra points at the New York Giants match in New Orleans, but the Giants lost 26 points to 14 and now will have just 1 win in their opening 5 games. Jude, however, has yet to miss a kick. in the NFL. He's going well. Local football and the bad weather saw Friday's games all postponed, although Derry City were able to rearrange their fixture to yesterday and secured another vital 3 points for their push for European football. In the Irish Premiership, Saturday's matches saw a few surprises. Nigel Ringland reports.
With Storm Amy putting pay to the games involving leaders Glentoran and Linfield, there was a missed opportunity for others to close the gap. Larne had their 6-game winning run brought to a crashing halt as the ever-improving Dungannon won 2-0 thanks to goals from Tiernan Kelly and Keelan Dillon as the Swifts won their 3rd straight to move up to 7th in the table. Bangor's impressive start to life back in the top flight continued with a 2-1 win against Coleraine. Lee Feeney's side raced into a 2-goal lead at half-time with goals from strikers Jay Boyd and Ben Arthurs. They then held on with 10 men to claim the 3 points despite conceding a second-half goal. The tough times continue for Glenavon. Beaten 3-1 by Portadown, it was a 10th consecutive league defeat to start the season. The pick of the Portadown goals, this strike from Ben Quinn. After a bright start to the season, Ballymena United have faltered of late, but they came from behind to beat Carrick Rangers 2-1. Ryan McNichol scoring the winning goal that sees Ballymena sit 5th in the table. Meanwhile, Michael Duffy scored a 94th-minute winner as Derry City beat Sligo Rovers 1-0 in the League of Ireland Premier Division. The Candy Stripes stay 2nd in the table, 4 points clear of 3rd place Bohemians, but have played 1 game more than the Dublin club. Nigel Ringland, BBC Newsline.
Now, the Belfast Giants had a tough weekend in Scotland, defeated in both games in the Challenge Cup. They lost 5-4 last night to the Dundee Stars after a penalty shootout. And that was after a loss away to the Fife Flyers on Saturday. The Scottish side taking the extra point 4-3 after winning the shootout. The Giants cup holders from last season are 2nd in their group with 4 games to play. Finally, tonight, the Northern Ireland squad has a clean bill of health ahead of the World Cup home qualifiers against Slovakia and Germany. They trained in Liverpool today and will be flying to Belfast on Wednesday. More on those qualifiers and those of the Republic of Ireland all this week on BBC Newsline.
Thomas, thank you very much. What a brilliant weather watcher picture. I love this from Michelle in Enniskillen. What about the weather, Ali? What's it going to do to us this week?
Well, Tara, it's certainly good weather for growing mushrooms. I will not attempt the name of those mushrooms as I'm definitely not an expert in the mushroom field. However, I can tell you about the weather. Cloudy skies this morning. As you can see, those beautiful autumnal colours really coming through in the trees in Stormont. Now, some sunny spells this afternoon to enjoy, and it seems like we weren't the only ones making the most of the calm weather post-Storm Amy. Now, an area of high pressure will really start to take charge over the UK and Ireland throughout the week, and that will keep the weather quite settled. It'll be largely dry, plenty of sunny spells, winds easing as well, and temperatures will be above average for the time of year. Now, tonight that cloud will start to build towards the early hours, and while it should be largely dry, a band of light patchy rain will move into western counties towards the early hours, but it'll be a very mild night with lows only dipping to around 11 to 12 degrees. And there may be some misty and murkiness across hilly areas tomorrow morning, so do keep in mind if you're heading out early. Overcast skies to start off with temperatures dropping a little as well. That band of light rain will push eastwards throughout the day, but it should be largely dry elsewhere. Some sunshine to enjoy throughout the afternoon as the cloud breaks, with winds starting to ease a little as well, and temperatures reaching around 14 to 15 degrees. On Wednesday, it's going to be another settled day right across Ireland. Sunshine to start off with skies clouding over throughout the day. Westerly winds picking up throughout the day, and temperatures sitting around the low to mid-teens. And as that area of high pressure really starts to take charge on Friday and throughout the weekend, plenty of sunny spells and drier conditions. As you can see, those temperatures well above average for the time of year. Winds will be easing as well. So I would say that that's great weather for getting out for all those autumnal walks to see the change in colours and in the trees. Tara, back to you.
Ali, thanks very much indeed. That's it for now. Our late news is at 10:30. Until then, you can keep up to date with the BBC News NI website and, of course, with Radio Ulster. Thanks for watching this evening. Bye-bye.